Hey guys, it's the Budget Epicurean, and today I'm going to be making some of my favorite summer things, which is shrimp tacos with a black bean and corn salsa and a little bit of slaw. These are so perfect altogether flavor-wise, but of course you can adapt to whatever you have or whatever you like. So shrimp tacos are great for the summertime because it's hot. You don't really want to cook and have the stove on for a long time, right? Shrimp cooks up super fast. So we'll start that by just putting some oil in the pan and turning on the heat to about medium. And these are previously frozen shrimp that I defrosted just by running some warm water over them. And I put them on a towel to let them dry off a little bit. You don't want your shrimp to be too moist, otherwise they'll kind of steam more so than cook. And you're gonna want to try to get a little bit of a sear on them if you can. So that's why I dry them off a little bit before I put them in the pan. So hopefully they won't give off too much water as they cook. So we'll just spread those around and let them get started. For the seasonings, you can use a pre-made taco mix seasoning if you have that. Super easy, nothing wrong with that. I just don't happen to have any, so I'm gonna throw some of my favorite things in there, which is garlic salt. A little sprinkle of that. It's got garlic and salt, and I think a little bit of parsley in there. Some paprika, because it smells great, it tastes great, it gives it that nice orangey Cajun color. If you have smoked paprika, I'd highly recommend that as well. A little bit of cumin for that taco flavor. This one I would say is probably the most optional. If you don't like the flavor of cumin, obviously leave it out. And some crushed red pepper flakes. You can also go with a little bit of cayenne here, depending on how you like your spice level. So we're just gonna let those guys cook while we move on to the salsa. And this is a really super great, refreshing summertime salsa. We've got some corn on the cob that is already cooked. We're just gonna cut the corn right off the kernels. You can also use it straight from the can if that's easier for you. Or corn is not in season when you want these. But it is corn season now, and this is fresh and local and delicious. So this is just another fun way to use up all that corn you probably got, you know, your 10 years for $1. So I'm just cutting straight down the cob, trying to keep all the kernels in a somewhat clean pile here, nice and slowly so they don't shoot off into outer space. And there we go. Alright, so if you get these big chunks that come off, you can just break them up with your fingers into kind of a couple kernels at a time. It doesn't matter if there's a few stuck together, you just don't want big chunks of it. Put all that right into our bowl. Depending on how much salsa you're going to want, you can easily double or triple this. Then we've got our avocado. I'm going to slice this guy right down the middle. And twist it open. And make small little dices. I like to do mine in quarters. And then crossways like that. And this one seems to be a little bit on the green side, which is fine for the slaw. I don't mind it being a little more solid. But it just means that I probably need a metal spoon to get it out. Not the ripest avocado I've ever seen. I might have to get a different avocado. So this is an avocado that was in the refrigerator. I had already cut it in half, and so the part that was exposed to the air had started to brown a little bit because it was being exposed to the oxygen, but it's still perfectly good to be used. So I just cut off the thin brown top layer. I'm cutting up the rest of the avocado to put into my salsa. There we go, much better. avocado. And then some Roma tomatoes. You can use whatever kind of tomatoes you have on hand. Anything that's fresh from the garden, the store, the farmer's market. This is what we've got. So just cut out the hard center part and then slice them long ways into little matchsticks like so. And you just want little bite-sized pieces of tomato for your salsa. Right. Meanwhile, I can hear our shrimp sizzling. I can smell those spices. So I'm going to just stir them around a little bit. You can see they are releasing some juices, so they weren't all the way thawed. That's all right, because the heat is going to boil that right off. So by the time all of these get fully cooked, they should be starting to get a little sear on them. So just trying to kind of flip over the ones that aren't cooked on one side, shifting the less cooked ones more towards the middle. And just let those keep going another couple minutes. All right, salsa making. I like Romas a lot for salsas because they're not super juicy. So really, I guess it depends on what kind of salsa you're making. If you're making a salsa that you don't want to be very runny, for example, a salsa you're going to put on tacos, Romas are perfect. If you're making a salsa where the main liquid part is coming from the tomatoes, then Roma's probably not the best, at least not to be the main source of tomato in that salsa. I'd suggest using more of a mixture. Larger tomatoes, like the slicing varieties, the beef steaks, those tend to have a lot more liquid to them. So if you're making a tomato-based salsa and you want it runny, use a lot of those. And finally, our black beans. I've got a can, but of course you could cook them fresh from dried. And we're going to drain it. A little bit of liquid is fine to still have because, I mean, it's a salsa after all. We expect it to be a little liquidy. So I would use maybe about a half a can per one corn on the cob. That's about the right ratio there. And finally, we've got a fresh lime. I'm going to slice that in half. Use my handy dandy citrus juicer to get all the lovely lime juice out of there. And if you don't have one of these, don't worry. You can also do this separately and just pick out any seeds, or you can use a regular old strainer. Anything that's small enough that any seeds won't fall through. And of course you can use bottled, so I'll toss in a little splash of lemon as well. So there we go. Lovely, super fresh, refreshing corn and black bean and avocado salsa. It's going to go on top of our tacos. I'll this dough to the side. Alright. Another shrimp, another stir. It's cooking up nice. Okay, that's almost ready. So the last thing I'm going to do is make a quick slaw to go with all of this lovely fresh food. I don't need a whole lot of it, just kind of a little sprinkle to put on a couple tacos. So I'm not going to be using a whole lot of this cabbage. The cabbage stores beautifully in the refrigerator, so you really only have to take what you need, and you can put the rest in a Ziploc and put it right back into the refrigerator for next time. So I'm just going to take a little piece and kind of julienne very, very thinly. Slice it as thin as I can get. If you're making a larger batch of this, then something like a food processor or a mandolin is probably a good idea. But if you're making just enough for a couple tacos, doing it by hand is perfectly fine. There we go. Thin, thin, thin strips. Bowl. Try to pull apart the slices a little bit, make it more feathery. And I've got one little carrot here. I'm just gonna peel. And for the carrot, you can use a cheese grater. That works really well. You can try cutting it into very, very thin slices by hand if you're ambitious like that. But I like to just take vegetable peeler and make this in a little circle around the carrot, and get thin little strips. And you can just add right in to your slaw. Just enough to kind of give it some extra color. Okay. And then we've got some basil aioli that I had made. If you don't have that, obviously you can just use a little bit of store-bought or homemade mayo. For this small amount, I probably only need about a tablespoon or two. And that's it. And I'll just let that sit. Perfect. All right, so we've got our slaw and our salsa and our shrimp. So it looks like most of the liquid's getting evaporated off by now, so we'll just go ahead and turn off the heat so you don't want to overcook the shrimp. Give them one more little stir and then just let those sit until the sizzling stops. And then we can assemble our tacos. Alright, so in case you don't know much about tacos, tacos are better on hot tortillas. Some people put them in the oven, some people have a tortilla press, but most people have a microwave. So just 10 or 15 seconds in the microwave. Your tortilla is hot, makes it a little more pliable. Highly recommend microwaving your tortillas. So we're going to put together one of these guys with our delicious cooked shrimp. They are sticking a little bit, which is great. Means they got a little bit of that char we wanted. Just a handful. These are tiny tortillas. A little bit of our delish fresh summer salsa there. We have black beans and the avocado and the corn. And some of our slaw to give it that nice little crunch. All right, so there you have it. All these beautiful, fresh, crunchy summer flavors. Comes together super fast in under 20 minutes, and you barely have to turn on the stove at all. So highly recommend it in the summer, but really anytime because frozen shrimp's always available. So hope you make this and enjoy.